Giancarlo Stanton and the Miami Marlins travel to New York to face the Mets.
Rip right field towards the corner. Gone!
The pregame's at 3:30 Eastern, followed by first pitch at 4:30. Saturday on ESPN Radio.
Get ready to embrace debate. First Take starts now.
Coming up on the First Take podcast, don't miss Stephen A's reaction to his Knicks dropping in the lottery. Plus, we'll have the reaction to the Patriots standing down. And we preview Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. The First Take podcast starts right now. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to First Take. Carrie Champion, Skip Bayless, Bristol, Connecticut. How are you?
How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing actually fabulous, but we'll get to that a little later on. Stephen A. Smith, he's in Philly. How are you?
I've had better days.
Yeah.
How y'all doing?
Yeah.
You know, later in the show, I got a little good news for you and your Knicks.
You do?
I do. I really do.
You're always looking out for our teammate. I appreciate that.
That's a lie, Kerry. Don't lie to the American public. He doesn't look out for me. Not in this regard.
All right, well, let's talk about what's on this show today. The Lakers snagged the number 2 pick in the lottery. What does it mean for the franchise as they look to rebuild? Plus, Golden State takes Game 1. What or who made the difference in that particular game? We will discuss that as well. But first, during the owners' meetings, Robert Kraft, he decided that he would hold a press conference to announce he would not appeal the fine and penalty imposed on the team because of Deflategate.
Although I might disagree with what is decided, I do have respect for the commissioner and believe that he's doing what he perceives to be in the best interest of the full 32. So in that spirit, I don't want to continue the rhetoric that's gone on for the last 4 months. I'm going to accept reluctantly what he has given to us and not continue this dialogue and rhetoric. And we won't appeal.
All right, so the NFLPA says Kraft's decision will not impact the union's appeal of Tom Brady's 4-game suspension because they are different issues. Skip Bayless, you first. Do you have a problem with Robert Kraft's decision?
Stephen A. Smith, the more I think about this, the bigger problem I do have with it. In fact, the more I let what I heard Robert Kraft say yesterday sink in, the angrier I get at Robert Kraft. Now, I tried to be objective, Stephen A., as I watched live Robert Kraft make this statement. He took no questions. He just made a statement. And I tried to think, well, okay, this is a little predictable because we all know Bob Kraft is first and foremost a league man, and he's taking one not for his team but for the league here. He's a staunch Goodell supporter through thick and thin, and he wants to stop the rhetoric, all the negative publicity that Coach Herman Edwards talked about with us yesterday on the show, and we're having Coach Herman on a little later today in the show. And Bob Kraft wanted to put this to bed. And yet, while he was doing so, he was selling out his quarterback because the golden goose he was protecting, the National Football League is one of 32 owners. In the end, his golden goose is really number 12, that golden boy quarterback who has been right there for Bob Kraft since 2001, and he left him high and dry. He gave all the Brady bashers out there the opportunity to say, told you so, because this, no matter how you slice it, it comes off as some concession of some guilt on the part of the Patriots and maybe even on the part of his quarterback, Tom Brady. And it just makes me sick that he did this now, because it's not fair to the quarterback, who obviously will continue with his appeal. He will continue to fight. He very possibly will continue with a defamation lawsuit filed against Roger Goodell. This doesn't help Tom Brady's case publicly or even privately. It looks like Roger Goodell finally said, Tom, I took it as far as I could and now I'm out. And this after the Peter King interview on Saturday. You had Peter on your show, Stephen A. And he was so vehement, so adamant. I talked to Tom Brady. I looked him in the eye. And I said, if you did anything at all wrong here, let's just admit it. Let's apologize. Let's move on. And as he said, Tom Brady looked him back in the eye. He said, Tom's never lied to me in 16 years. And Tom Brady said to me, I know nothing about this. I have no knowledge. And Bob Kraft said he 100% believed Tom Brady. So then what happened, Bob? You can't sell him out at this late date. Well, what about no Brady, no banner, the hashtag, the social media campaign? What about defending the integrity of your franchise that means, I would think, as much to you as this league does? What about all that, Mr. Kraft? I don't get it. And if I were Tom Brady today, I would be really disappointed in an owner I love.
Well, you can be disappointed all you want to if you're Tom Brady, especially if you're Skip Bayless or all the Bostonians out there and the people in Massachusetts who are appalled at Robert Kraft's decision. But let me be very, very clear. All of y'all need to get over it, wake up, and put on your big boy pants.
No.
Figuratively speaking, of course. Grow up. Grow up. Robert Kraft is the owner of the New England Patriots. Not only do I completely agree with his decision, I absolutely applaud it. As far as I'm concerned, it's class personified, and more importantly, it's consistent with who he is, who he has been, and what he stands for. This man did not sit there and attach a shred of guilt to Tom Brady. He reiterated that he thought that the investigation was flawed. He reiterated that he thought it was an overreaction. He reiterated that he still believed in Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, and he didn't waver from his stance on that one bit. What he said, Skip, is, regardless of how I feel, the commissioner has a job to purview the entire league. And I have 31 other owners to consider, not just myself. This is the National Football League. This is the brand. This is the shield. It's bigger and more important than Tom Brady. It was there before he arrived, and it will be there when Tom Brady is gone. Just like it was there when Joe Montana left, when Terry Bradshaw left, when Roger Staubach left. The list goes on and on. Tom Brady is another great quarterback, but at the same time, he's not bigger than the shield. He's got his own issues. Okay, go ahead and defend yourself. But in order for me to continue with this investigation, I have to go up against a man that I have supported, who clearly has the support of the other owners. I have this to consider. And I don't understand how anybody, particularly those in corporate America, don't get that. I understand, Skip, where you're coming from in all seriousness. I truly do get your point. And I'm not joking around with you, and I'm not just saying we're always serious in terms of what we believe. But I truly understand that you're not wrong with what you're saying. I'm simply saying you got to put on your big boy pants. This is bigger than Tom Brady. This is bigger than the New England Patriots. If Kraft were to take it where people like yourself and others want him to take it, because you go that route, you're going to open up a Pandora's box. You're going to compromise the very power that you bestowed upon, or you assisted in bestowing upon, Roger Goodell, and that takes precedent. We work at ESPN. It is owned by Walt Disney, and there are many occasions where we have to take the brand into consideration, and it has to usurp us as individuals. And I applaud Robert Kraft for seeing that and making and acting accordingly.
Okay, so to continue your Disney analogy, so every once in a while you have to admit that you did cheat when you know you didn't cheat, just for the sake of the brand and the shield.
No.
Is that what you're saying?
No. You have to accept the fact that even if you haven't cheated, there's but little, as Herman would say yesterday, there's little to so much you can do about public perception. If Mr. Kraft, here's what would have been unforgivable. If Mr. Kraft sat there and not only said he wouldn't appeal the commissioner's decision, but Tom Brady should not either.
Oh, okay.
If he did that, that's going too far.
Okay.
But he didn't do that. He said, as it pertains to the New England Patriots organization, the Wells report is overzealous and as misinformed as he believes the investigation is. To go forward with it could make things far uglier than they need to be. We can withstand this. We can overcome this. As much as I don't like it, we can still do it, and we will, because it ain't worth what could potentially transpire down the line in the bigger picture if I go ahead thinking about myself instead of the NFL brand.
Look,
I respect that.
It's so easy for you to say all of the above because you believe in your heart of hearts that Tom Brady cheated with those footballs. Coach Edwards believes, Coach Herman Edwards, that in his heart of hearts he believed that Tom pulled off, to use his words, some shenanigans. He fudged the rules or whatever, but he cheated. Okay, that's what all the haters believe. Tom Brady cheated. They're not haters. You know, Stephen A's got a little bit of hate. He's got love for Bob Kraft. He's got a little bit of hate for Tom Brady. That's okay. I'm okay with that. There are millions out there like you. Now, for point of order here, I communicated with our old friend Christian Fourier. He now does a radio show on WEEI in Boston, and he said they were bombarded with Patriot fans' outrage yesterday, that he had never quite experienced that much verbal, sort of vocal outrage on air that they experienced yesterday. They had to dump some calls, bleep some calls. People were out of their minds about Bob Kraft selling out. And the more I thought about it, so was I. Look, Stephen A., here's the point. After Mr. Kraft, the man you so highly respect, started a website attacking Roger Goodell's credibility with the Wells report, trying to shred it point for point, saying that it's one outrageous leap after another off circumstantial evidence. After you go that far, just last week, you can say, oh, there was method to the madness. He was trying to shift public opinion in favor of his quarterback. Baloney. I don't see it. You take it right up to that. And then what did our Adam Schefter report? You talk to Peter King, and then that night at a birthday party, you run into Roger Goodell. You sit down on the couch, you have a long talk with Mr. Goodell, and you wind up ending in a hug. They love each other, and it's all forgive and forget. I know I shouldn't have taken it this far. I'm a league man. It's just an awful look for your quarterback because it admits some guilt. That's the problem here. At least you could have taken it through the appeals process. I don't think that would have damaged the golden goose that is the National Football League. Just let it play out. Let Roger oversee the appeals process. Maybe soften some of your penalties. Who knows what would happen in the appeals process. Let it play out for the sake of your quarterback and your fandom. And he did not. He sold out.
Well, Skip, you can say that he sold out, and that's a very derogatory term
to the league,
use to a man that to a man that's highly respected, has an impeccable reputation. I understand all of that, and all of those folks in Massachusetts who are going berserk. Well, you know what? You're still going to show up in Foxborough and watch the games. You know why? Because this owner that has presided over this franchise for the last 21 years has delivered you consistent greatness along with 4 Super Bowl titles. So you'll get over it. Now let's get back to Tom Brady. Tom Brady was not indicted here. Robert Kraft showed up to the spring league meetings, and Goodell wasn't the only person he had a conversation with. There were 31 other owners there, Skip. This is a billionaires club. They preside over a league that's raking in approximately $18 billion annually. You're talking about the National Football League. All I'm saying to you, Skip, all I'm saying to you is this: shake your head. Talk about how wrong it is. I understand that. But we can't knock Mr. Kraft for it. There's a bigger picture to consider. Don't tell me that Tom Brady is worth that bigger picture. He's one player, okay? And he can handle his own business with suing them and what have you. I get all of that. But Mr. Kraft is saying, as it pertains to the $1 million fine, the first-round pick, the 4th-round pick in 2015 and 2016, respectively, it's not worth what will come down the pike if we continue fighting this. It's already going on too long, 4 months and counting. It's sullying the NFL shield, which everybody acknowledges. It doesn't do well for the business of football. How is it that we're not big enough to understand that? Tom Brady can deal with Tom Brady. He's dealing with the Patriots, and Mr. Kraft has every right to do that. I don't understand the problem.
Okay.
I really don't.
And to your point, to Kerry's point, in Mr. Kraft's statement, he failed to even mention Tom Brady. Now, is that a plus or a minus? You could say it's a plus. I say it's a minus. I at least wanted to hear him say, I still believe Tom is 100% innocent, and I'm still backing Tom through his appeals process, and if he wants to continue to pursue this in a court of law. But he did not say a word.
But there's still time for that.
There might be, but I think he, for the sake of the league, I think he can't say that. Once you go down the league's road, you have to go all the way down the league's road, and you just leave your quarterback out of it because now he's on his own. That's what he's saying. You're on your own, Tom, between the lines, because he didn't mention Tom Brady's name.
Yeah, but that's after weeks of mentioning Tom Brady ad nauseum, of coming to the support of Tom Brady ad nauseum. I mean, damn. He's been sitting there screaming, hooting, and hollering for 2 weeks about how ridiculous all of this stuff was and how it's impugned the integrity of Tom Brady. He even showed up Super Bowl week and literally said he's expecting an apology to Tom Brady.
Yeah.
To Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. What more? I mean, because he didn't mention him yesterday? Come on, y'all.
Okay.
Come on, Skip. I mean, come on, man.
How off the website of 20,000 words could you do such an about face like that? Like that. An about face. I give up.
Because he went to the spring meetings and he met with his contemporaries along with Roger Goodell. It's not pressure. It's about, look,
business.
What's in the best interest.
Business.
None of them like the Patriots. They all think they're cheaters. He acquiesced.
It's big business, Skip.
Okay. All right.
It's a billion-dollar industry.
Okay, last quick point. What if he just let the appeals process play out and Roger Goodell, his dear friend he is staunchly supported, maybe he reduces the first-round pick to a second-rounder? Wouldn't that be worth the appeals process?
Skip.
The negative publicity, the rhetoric? Baloney. I mean, just let it play out. You might get it reduced. That's a big reduction.
He's trying. They obviously came to the conclusion that the ongoing saga of a potential appeal is to the detriment of the overall business and brand. That doesn't usurp Tom Brady? Yes, the hell it does. It does. It usurps any of us. We don't need to send any message to any individuals out there, whether it's Marshawn Lynch and the way he acted Super Bowl week, whether it's players came up to him supporting, his cantankerous tendencies or whatever the case may be. The fact of the matter is, in the end, we always sit up here and say, in one way or another, you are not bigger than the brand.
Okay.
None of us are.
We hear that often.
None of us are.
We hear that often.
Final question. Why does Robert Kraft own 4 Super Bowl rings? What's the biggest reason he owns 4 Super Bowl rings?
Oh, boy. You can say Tom Brady.
It's not even close. Tom Brady is the biggest reason.
I'm sorry, Skip.
And you just sold him
I have a
out.
question.
Thank you.
I apologize, Skip. Does Tom Brady play for free? I apologize, Skip. I didn't know he was charitable.
He took his pay cut for the sake of that team. He could be making a lot more money than he makes.
I'm sorry. Tom Brady raked in, 18, 19 million last year? Then he signed a $72 million deal?
He took his cuts for the sake of their salary cap. He shouldn't take another one.
Goodell years ago. Hold on. When the economic bubble burst, Goodell took his pay cut too. I don't see you bringing that up because he raked in $44 million in 2012, didn't he?
Yeah.
Stop it. Tom Brady don't play for free. He gets paid to do what he does.
I just came up with a new nickname for Mr. Kraft.
Bob
Crafty. That's what he is. Bob Crafty. Because that was a crafty maneuver.
Is that what you want to call him moving forward? Okay, well, listen. Here we go. Skip Bayless says that Bob Kraft sold out Tom Brady.
Yes.
That's harsh, but that's how you
It's true.
feel.
It's not harsh. It's the truth.
Stephen A. says that Tom Brady's not bigger than the brand. This is about business.
Oh, he would say that.
The league MVP had a 34-point, 5 assist, 6 rebound performance in Golden State's win over the Rockets. The Warriors went small with just one of Draymond Green, Andrew Bogut, Festivus Ezeli, or David Lee on the floor. Harrison Barnes also rotated in and out, but according to Elias with the Smalls, the Warriors were able to score 59 of their 110 points. The Warriors took the lead in the second quarter, never looked back. It was a wrap. So in your opinion, Skip Bayless, what was the difference?
Let Mr. Smith
You want him to go?
Absolutely.
Right.
Stephen A.
Stephen A. in Philly, what was the difference?
Well, I think the difference outside of Steph Curry's greatness was the fact that the supporting cast showed up to help him more so than Houston's supporting cast showed up to help James Harden. James Harden had nearly a triple-double with 28, 11, and 9. Steph Curry obviously hit 6 3-pointers. He scored 34 points. He was electric at times. At times, James Harden was electric himself and looked absolutely unstoppable, particularly in the second half. But ultimately what it comes down to is that Klay Thompson showed up. He hit 6 of 18 shots. That's not great, but he still dropped in 15 points. Draymond Green was relatively impressive with a double-double, plus they were a plus 12 with him on the basketball court. And I look at Sean Livingston's 18 points off the bench for Golden State as pivotal in this series, because you got to remember, he's a backup. He's slim and slender, but Sean Livingston would have been a star in this league had he not had injuries to his knees. But he showed up. He's a backup. He causes matchup nightmares for a lot of the opposition, Skip, because he's a legit 6'7", 6 feet 8. So because of that, that's a bit problematic. Whereas in the case of Houston, I told you the X factor in this series was going to be Dwight Howard. Now, he banged knees. I think it was with Smith or somebody in the first quarter.
Yep.
As a result, he was never himself. But he finished with just 7 points. Even though he had 13 rebounds, he finished with just 7 points. They were a minus with him on the court, and that's not going to fly. What they did, -4 with him on the court. If the Houston Rockets don't have Dwight Howard being dominant in this series, and right now he's scheduled to have an MRI today so we can find out the status of his knee. If you don't have Dwight Howard not just playing, but being dominant, you have no chance to win this series. And last night, Dwight Howard obviously was not that. And even though it was a highly competitive matchup, nip and tuck back and forth, you saw what the end result was. They had a 16-point lead, and Golden State erased it within minutes in the second quarter and ultimately ended up holding on for the victory. You need Dwight Howard to step up and be that franchise $88 million man caliber player that he's supposed to be. Otherwise, you Houston, you don't have a shot.
Let me quickly echo your Sean Livingston point. It did my heart good to watch this young man finally have his moment in the sun, because, as you remember, he was a high pick for the Clippers, looked like he was going to be a star in this league, and tore up his knee about as badly as you can tear it up. So God bless him. And let me say, because I predicted a sweep in this series, I congratulate the Rockets on how they battled last night. They would not go away. I congratulate them on just hanging tough. In fact, for a while, it looked like they were going to blow the Warriors off their home court. So, way to go, Rockets. Now, to my biggest takeaway last night, the biggest reason Golden State won Game 1, for me, Stephen A., and feel free to disagree on this. Maybe I'm just too far out on the limb, but this is how I saw it. You know how big a fan I am of Steph Curry. I think he proved over the last 5.5 minutes of that game his will is stronger than James Harden's will. I think he has, Steph Curry, a little bigger clutch gene, if you will, than James Harden. And I just look at the play-by-play, Stephen A. 5:28 left. That game was 97-all. Tie game with 5.5 minutes to go. And down the stretch, James Harden committed 3 straight turnovers and missed a three-pointer. Scored no points in the last 5.5 minutes with 3 turnovers. Meanwhile, Steph had 2 layups on slick little, there was one, the inbounds play and another back cut. He made a 3 off balance while getting fouled that was not called, that had a degree of difficulty to me of about a 10. He stole the ball from James Harden, and in the end, James Harden had to foul him with 11.8 seconds left, and Steph Curry had to step to that free throw line, having shot and missed only 1 free throw in this game. You don't think those were 2 huge clinching free throws that he shot? And obviously, as usual, he swished both of those and gave them their final margin. So to me, Steph Curry took over the game late, as James Harden was not capable of taking over the game. James had 4 turnovers in the fourth quarter, and yet, to me, and I tweeted about this, there was a minute in that game, midway fourth quarter, I thought James Harden was going to win it by himself. But when it came push to shove time, Steph took the game over. He is the MVP, and he was again last night. Your thought?
Well, he was again last night. I'm not going to completely piggyback on what you're saying simply because let's see Steph Curry do that in Houston, and let's see James Harden turn over the ball in Houston. I mean, playing at the Oracle, man, Skip, I'm telling you something special, man. It's the best home crowd in the NBA right now. It is something special to behold, being there and watching this crowd go berserk the way that they do. Please don't doubt that. And so being in those kind of hostile confines, you've got to be an elite-leveled player to really withstand that kind of onslaught from that home crowd in Oakland when it's aimed against you. So let's see what Steph Curry does in Houston. Let's see what James Harden goes back and does when he's Houston. What I will say to you is that I can't definitively poo-poo what you're saying, because you know how I feel about James Harden and what he did in the finals. Yep. And so now you got this big moment again. This is when we need to see James Harden be James Harden. You do. We know he's a star, but this is when we need to see it. Having said all of that, again, Steph Curry is special, and we know what he brings to the table. But Harrison Barnes showed up. Sean Livingston showed up. Even though Klay Thompson had a tough shooting night, he still was productive. He did. Well, I wouldn't say he didn't show up. Well, I mean, he hit some shots.
1 of 7 from 3, so that's not what he usually does.
Yeah, 1 of 7 from 3, but a couple of pump fakes going into the lane, mid-range, pull-up Jay. He had it going a little bit there, so I'll give him credit for that because he established enough of himself as being enough of a threat. But what do you have to say for Houston? There are other guys that have got to show up and help James Harden. James Harden is not going to beat the Golden State Warriors by himself. You need, again, Corey Brewer, Josh Smith, and those guys. You know, they all played hard last night. They did. But you need Dwight Howard to win this series. You need Dwight Howard to win this series.
But remember, in the first half, Dwight Howard, as they fed the post maybe to a fault, had 5 turnovers. So I'm not sure they missed him that much on and off in the second half. I don't know.
I'm not saying they missed him. I'm saying they will miss him because they're not winning this series unless he plays well. I'm saying even when he was on the court, the bottom line is it's not enough to beat it. You got to produce. You have to play like an $88 million man in order for Houston to have a chance of winning this series. If Dwight Howard doesn't do that, you're not winning this series. You're not winning.
How often have you seen him play like an $88 million man?
Well, Skip, I will say this to you, Skip. I had no problem with the way he played in the Portland series last year when they lost in the first round. And I have no problem with how I saw him play thus far in the playoffs. Even though at some point he was getting outplayed by DeAndre Jordan, it was because of those alley-oops Chris Paul was throwing to him, how effective DeAndre Jordan was. DeAndre Jordan has a legitimate 3-inch height advantage over him. I'm just looking at Dwight Howard. You've got to produce. You're going up against Andrew Bogut. I mean, come on. If you can't step up and get it done, what do I need to pay this money to you for? Well, assuming he's healthy. If he's not healthy, that's different. But Dwight Howard is too gifted. You are supposed to abuse anybody on Golden State's front line. You're supposed to abuse them.
Yep, and to your usual point, Bogut was bogus to start that game. He got off to a rocky start and wound up mostly on the bench because they went small as Houston was going small also.
Well, I'm glad you said that because far be it, I don't want to be called a wonker.
You don't want to be a wonker anymore. Yeah. Okay. Game 2 tomorrow night, Oracle, 9 Eastern on ESPN. Let's talk about the draft, shall we? The lottery. After posting the second worst record in the NBA, the New York Knicks had just about a 20% chance to win the NBA draft lottery, a 56% chance to pick up the top 3, but their ultimate fate, obviously, was 4th. The New York Post back page saying it all, tanks for nothing. So take a look at the top 10. Wolves get the number 1. We see that. Lakers with 2, 76ers 3, Knicks 4. Magic rounding it out. Stephen A., we played a little bit of what you had to say last night. Knicks fans are not happy. So I'm going to let you go.
I'm going to try to keep my cool.
Please.
Skip Bayless, this hurts me the way you hurt when it comes to San Antonio. We all knew that the Knicks were an unmitigated disaster. We accepted that because we had no choice very, very early on. It was clear they weren't going to win too many basketball games. It was clear that the triangle offense was going to take some moments to grasp and ultimately for players to get adjusted to. But last night, when I'm in that room because, remember, I was one of the 12 media members that were invited into the room, and we were on lockdown. We knew what the outcome was of the draft lottery literally an hour before they brought the cards on to the podium, and you saw it on national TV. So we saw all of this. We saw the lawyers were there, security was there. I mean, Skip, it was to the point where, I mean, we weren't allowed to speak, we weren't allowed to leave the room unless we had to go to the bathroom. When we went to the bathroom, we had to have an escort. We weren't allowed to talk to anybody. We weren't allowed to reveal any results whatsoever. We watched the ping pong balls. We watched Minnesota get the #1 pick. The Lakers get the #2 pick. Congratulations to the Lakers, by the way. Philadelphia get the #3 pick. And I cannot tell you how excruciatingly painful that hour was waiting for it to come on the air, because it sunk in. I was in the room with these guys when the Knicks ended up getting the 4th pick. I can't even tell you the level of misery I have felt, and I'm still feeling. I barely slept last night because I'm just so disgusted with the New York Knicks. It's hard to put into words. You have a guy in Phil Jackson. This is the same Phil Jackson who basically everybody believed took the job just because of the money. I was happy he's there because he's an 11-time champion, and we needed this. We needed his presence. What happens in the aftermath of that? He moves Tyson Chandler just to get rid of Raymond Felton and brings back Jose Calderon. He gets rid of Iman Shumpert and J.R. Smith for 2 second-round picks and 2 trade exceptions, which to us amounts to about a box of cookies, okay? You sit up there, and Melo, you hoodwinked him into believing that you were going to try to win now, and you told us that the New York Knicks would be competing for a playoff spot fresh off of a 37-win season under Mike Woodson, who had won 54 games the year before and had taken them to the semifinals for the first time in 13 years as a franchise. You sold us on all of this, Phil Jackson. And yet, the New York Knicks somehow, regardless of their pathetic recent history over spanning the last decade, Skip Bayless, somehow, some way, it's worse under Phil Jackson. Never in the history of the New York Knicks have they lost 60-plus games in a season. They lost 65 this year. You got a rookie coach in Derek Fisher who's never even been an assistant. Maybe he'll be a good coach, Skip. But guess what? He's never coached before. And by the way, if you're Phil Jackson, but Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook or LeBron James or Kobe or somebody was on this squad, are you trying to tell me that Phil Jackson is sitting on the sidelines instead of coaching? I don't think so. I'm sorry, instead of being an executive? I mean, come on now. I don't believe so. The man has made 2 road trips this year, Skip. You know where those 2 road trips were? L.A., Clippers, and Lakers. Yep. Last week, Skip, we're in Chicago for the Bulls-Cavs. The NBA pre-draft camp is in Chicago. Skip, all the executives, all the coaches, everybody goes there. Everybody's there. Phil Jackson is in Chicago. What are they talking about last night? Phil Jackson never showed up to the pre-draft. He was in Chicago. Never showed up. Steve Mills, somebody else was there. I mean, you got to be kidding me. And then the draft last night. If nothing else, Skip Bayless, you're the Zen master. You're the guy, the zen, the aura, all the things that make you you. I mean, things just seem to flow in your favor, Phil Jackson. Would you think that level of karma was worth? I mean, you could have blessed us with your presence last night, because you are getting paid $10 to $12 million. I mean, could you at least showed up and just sat there to hear? Maybe, just maybe, you might have ended up getting one of the top 2 picks. No, Phil Jackson can't do that either. So you can't seem to pick talent. You can't seem to go out there and get a marquee free agent. Not yet, anyway. You can't build a roster. You don't want to pick a coach with experience. You don't want to coach. And then on top of it all, you don't even have the decency to show up and to make your presence felt so some level of karma can come our way.
Things are
Okay.
Give him some help.
Just go ahead.
Give him some medicine.
I realize you almost certainly will not now be able to draft either of the 2 centerpiece centers, Karl Anthony or Jaleel. Carries Lakers, on the other hand. Another story.
It.
Bingo. And I feel a little bit of your pain there, Stephen A., but as your brother from another mother, as a man who loves you to a fault, I don't know why I put up with you, but it's I love you that much.
Do
I
you?
do.
You
I
love
do.
him that
Yes,
much?
I do.
Ah.
So I'm going to figuratively put a little arm around your shoulder today, and I'm going to try to brighten your mood just a little bit by reminding you, who's your all-time favorite coach that you covered for years with the Sixers?
It's Larry Brown.
What's that?
It's Larry
Oh,
Brown.
Larry Brown.
Yes.
Sorry. So, Stephen A., I remind you that Larry Brown recruited a kid out of Dallas named Emmanuel Mudiay. And at that moment, Larry Brown said of Emmanuel Mudiay, who then went on to China to play because he couldn't get into SMU, he called him, if we could see this, the most special point guard I've ever seen at that age. He plays the right way, and God has given him incredible gifts. We all know the NBA is a point guard's league. And I will go on to say this point guard is 6 feet 5 inches tall. He's listed at 196, though he looks like now he's more like 205, maybe 208. A little bit of weight on. Yep. He's got that man body going, that NBA body going. And right now on Chad Ford's big board, guess what? Emmanuel Mudiay is there for your New York Knicks. Who's to say he might not turn out to be the best player in this draft? If, in fact, the Sixers, one spot ahead of you, take D'Angelo Russell out of Ohio State, another gifted point guard at about 6'5", and that's what Chad Ford thinks will happen. So if that does happen, maybe Phil Jackson will start to look like the Zen Master again. Maybe. I mean, you just don't know.
That could happen.
From that Larry Brown quote, the most gifted I've seen at that age, wow. I'm thinking that Emmanuel Mudiay, with 1 year of pro basketball experience in China, might just step right into Madison Square Garden and take it over and bring it back.
You're
just
such
thinking,
a good friend to him.
Well,
you gave him what we call a little candy, and so he's happy about that.
Yeah.
So you're a good friend.
And I think it's good, like it's real candy.
Yeah.
It's not sugar-free,
like
it's real,
it's
right?
the real deal.
It's the real deal.
It's some sweet.
Not that I would eat it, but,
no, but
still,
he likes
it's real candy
like
that I gave him because that's something to hang on to. This draft is pretty deep here.
Right.
So, again, you're probably going to get...
Who do you think we take, Towns or Okafor? We can't go wrong either way.
But the point here is, who does Minnesota take first?
Yeah.
And Chad Ford does make the point that the one team out there that might take Jaleel, just is interested in Jaleel, is Minnesota. Okay, I think Karl Anthony's going to be better. I think he blocks shots better. He's a much better shooter. He's a much better free throw shooter. And he's a better big playmaker, end of game.
But you've been on him before. We've done that topic. So either way, I'm happy. I'll take either or. I'll take Okafor. I'll take Towns. I know that Laker Nation was extremely happy. So we'll get to that a little later on.
I'm going to guess you're going to have Okafor. I'm going to guess.
Yeah.
That's how it will shake out.
We will talk about Laker Nation, how happy they were, what it all means, what it looks for. I guess
Kobe's last ride is going to be fun and interesting.
It's good. Magic tweeted about it. Magic, if you're watching, we appreciate what you had to say.
Geico presents Strange Savings Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Although I might disagree with what is decided, I do have respect for the commissioner and believe that he's doing what he perceives to be in the best interest of the full 32. So in that spirit, I don't want to continue the rhetoric that's gone on for the last 4 months. I'm going to accept reluctantly what he has given to us and not continue this dialogue and rhetoric. And we won't appeal.
All right, it was reported last Saturday night during a party for Sean McManus that Robert Kraft and Commissioner Roger Goodell sat and talked and perhaps even hugged it out working out their differences surrounding Deflategate. To talk about that, joining us now, our NFL analyst, Mark Brunell. Good to have you back.
Good to be here.
Coach Herm Edwards here just yesterday, and you said you figured this would be all settled before the appeals process. You called it.
You did call it.
You called it.
Congratulate you.
Well, I'm a smart man.
Yes, he is.
I'm right every once in a while, but knowing this league, and I've had the privilege to play and coach in this league, and I understand how it works. And Mr. Kraft said it. He said it exactly right. A lot of rhetoric, bad publicity for the league. And when you sit in his seat with 31 owners that you're in partnership with, along with protecting the shield, and we always talk about that from the top to the bottom, that it was time to put this to rest. And the sidebars that obviously him and the commissioner had, there was enough said. Also with owners probably whispering in his ear and says, look, you just got to take it. You have to do what the New Orleans Saints had to do. They didn't like the sanctions that were put on them. Their coach was dismissed for a whole year. The GM was gone. You look at what happened to the Atlanta Falcons. Look at what happened to the Cleveland Browns. They all just fell in place and said, okay, we get it. You know, this is the commissioner's. This is what we hired him for, to protect the integrity of the league. Because when you don't, then the fan base of our great league, they question, what are they doing? Who's the voice? He is the voice when it comes to protecting the league. Whether it's a player moving out of line or an owner now. If this was Mr. Davis, as we know, it would be a whole different story. Because Mr. Davis fought the league. I mean, and won. He won. He beat the league twice. Was the only guy who ever done it, owner-wise. But he was that way. That was Mr. Davis. And you anticipated that. When the Oakland Raiders had a beef with the league, Mr. Davis was saying, we're going to court. And he won twice. Twice. You remember that?
Do I?
He's the only guy.
And Mr. Davis told me that he felt like the league got even with him over the Tuck Rule play that launched the dynasty.
That's a whole other story.
Okay,
That's
well,
okay.
You're not getting into that.
I'm not getting into that one.
Yeah.
But it didn't surprise me at all.
You said it perfectly. It was time. We've been talking about this for 4 months. It's time. And at least this element of this whole saga is put to rest. There will always be players that make mistakes on the field and off the field. And the punishment will come down on them. And they will appeal. But this was a whole different story. You know, Mr. Kraft, what he said was, he talked about the strength of the partnership. The good of the league outweighs the good of one individual team. I thought it was commendable. I thought he did a good job. We expected him to say that. I thought he made the right call.
He didn't leave Tom Brady hanging.
Okay.
That's a whole different issue.
Yes, I'm about to get to
You
that.
go right ahead. You go right ahead.
I want to say I'm so happy to have you two here with us because I respect you enormously.
Thank you.
As a coach and player in this league. And I respect the heck out of you for your early stance against this on our air here. You were highly critical, mostly indirectly, of Tom Brady. Is that fair? I mean,
very fair.
Yeah. And your point was the quarterback knows what the football is. He knows the feel of the football, and if it's underinflated, don't tell me you don't know it's underinflated.
Right.
Is that fair to characterize your stance?
It's very fair, and Skip, that's how it works. Quarterbacks are very much involved in the preparation of those footballs.
Okay, I'm going to reiterate one last time. I've talked to several people close to Brady who say that even privately, he is insisting to him that he's not even 1% guilty here. He is 0% guilty. And that he had no idea of what was going on with those footballs other than to tell everyone involved, I like them inflated to the lower end of regulation. He said that from 2001 on, from his rookie 2000 on. That's all, and there is a range, obviously. Aaron Rodgers has said, I like it at the top end of the range. I don't know where you liked your football. Did you like it in the middle? Did you like it a little lower? But there's a range down to this that's still legal, right? Okay, that's all Tom Brady says to his friends that he knows now. And Bob Kraft said in his interview with Peter King just last Saturday, that's when the interview took place, before the birthday party, that he looked Tom Brady in the eye and basically said, look, if you fudge, I'm paraphrasing, but if you fudged a little bit here, just tell me, and we'll deal with it. We'll move on. It'll be no problem here, and it won't be a big deal. But he said that Brady looked him in the eye. He's never lied to him. 16 years they've been together, and said, nothing. I didn't do anything wrong here. So then, Mr. Kraft went on the attack. He went on into Al Davis mode for a while.
Yes, he did.
Okay. he went, as I said the other day, he went Mad Max, man. I mean, he went crazy for a while with the website rebuttal of 20,000 words attacking the commissioner's credibility via the Wells report. Just shredded it, point for point for point. And I'm like, wow, this is serious business, because I was told by the confidants of Tom Brady, he doesn't just want he thinks the appeals will be a charade. So he's waiting to go to court. He's going to, as Jonathan Vilma did during the Bounty Gate, he wants to sue Roger Goodell for defamation of his character. Because the worst publicity here, I get your league view, but the worst publicity suffered is by the quarterback here. Is that fair to say?
No doubt.
Not by the Patriots, not by the owner.
That's right.
They have their shield to protect, but apparently it's going to be okay in Mr. Kraft's eyes, because he backed completely off. But he left the quarterback hanging. He left him high and dry to defend himself. He did not mention him in the statement that he made without taking a question yesterday in San Francisco at the Spring League meetings. So my point is this. If you're Tom Brady and you 100% believe that you did nothing wrong, is it okay for you to go ahead and fight if you're in those shoes right now? And that, again, you have a different take on it, but if you can relate quickly here just to Tom Brady's place right now, his position, his impasse that he's in, personally, would you continue to fight, or would you take one for the league as your owner just did?
Well, I would continue to fight. I would take a shot. I would appeal. That's what players do. I mean, we're looking at the difference between 4 games and 2 games, which is a huge difference, Coach.
Just point of order.
Without
Tom
doubt.
Brady doesn't want 2 games because that's some acceptance of an admission of guilt. Right?
Sure.
Even 2 games would say, oh, you got me, but I'll thank you for the 2 games.
But let me suggest something. You know, in the conversations, the back channel conversations that perhaps Mr. Kraft and Roger had, do you think that there's a possibility that Mr. Kraft said something to the effect of, hey, I'm gonna get out of this fight. However, in this appeals process with my quarterback, I want you to go easy on him. I want you to consider going from 4 to 2. Maybe there was an agreement there. If I'm going to get out, I need something for it. I need some assurances that my quarterback.
Possibly.
I'm not saying strip him, take nothing away.
Right.
But give him something. Give my quarterback something. Do something for me, for my willingness to get out of this fight. The good of the league, the strength of the partnership, I can see that happening very easily.
Obviously, Robert Kraft no longer fighting, but what does that mean for Tom Brady or say about Tom Brady?
Well, obviously, it's in the league's hands, and I wish it never would have got to this, actually. And when I look at it, I would probably handle it a little bit different earlier. You being the head coach, knowing there's a situation in your locker room that is somewhat gotten out of control with the balls, I would have called the equipment guy in and Tom in. Had them both sit in front of me and ask the question. Said, okay, Tom, what happened here? And
how early would you do it?
Right from the beginning.
Like right the day after the AFC Championship?
No,
way
before
back?
that. Yeah. When Bill went and they had to talk about the deflated balls, right? I would have called Tom in and the equipment guy said, hey, what happened here? I need to know. And I don't know how the conversation goes. I'd ask Tom, I said, okay, what's the deal? And if Tom says, well, I like the balls, I felt the ball and I liked it this way when it was cold. And this might have happened 10 years ago.
Sure.
Who knows? I don't know. But, okay, you like that feel, okay. And what did you do? He says, well, I had to make sure that was the feel he wanted, and I had to take the balls, and I had to let some air out of them to get them at that level. And then the next question is, were they under-deflated? So they asked the equipment man, right? He looks at me and he goes, yes, they were under-deflated. Well, okay.
Now what?
Did you tell Tom that? Did you tell Tom they were under-deflated? And if he says yes, so Tom, what do you want to do? You want to play with an under-deflated ball, or do you want to go by the rules? Or did you not tell Tom that? And if you didn't, he's playing with an under-deflated ball. He doesn't know it. He knows it's a little soft, but he doesn't know it's not the league minimum. He says, so that's on you. To me, that was the simplest way to do it. But that's just me. I'm sitting in the studio.
But you were a pretty good coach.
Real good coach.
Well, I do know this. I know about people.
Yes, you do.
And I just think there's a way you can get to the bottom line without making a spectacle for everybody involved.
Okay,
Right.
just point of order.
Yeah.
The coach in question here has had a little bit of a checkered past his own self. Is that fair to say? We had a Spygate. And before that, we had a couple of big accusations from teams he played in the Super Bowl that walkthroughs were taped the night before Super Bowls against the St. Louis Rams, Carolina Panthers. So he was under scrutiny already, and maybe he has operated occasionally. We know he operated in gray area against Eric Mangini's Jets with the taping of the defensive signals, right? Okay, so now let's get back to Tom Brady. It did get this far.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, that same owner who had gone Al Davis on the league and on Roger Goodell, according to Adam Schefter, the night after he does the Peter King interview, the night of that day, he did it in the afternoon, he runs into Roger Goodell at a birthday party. They sit on the couch, according to Adam Schefter. They hash this out. They end up hugging it out. And all of a sudden, he does one of the great about faces I've ever seen, to go from that crazed, I'm declaring war on my league, to I love my league and I'm going to take one for my league. And two things are operating here. Number one, you don't see your team's appeals process through. So to your point, maybe he has a off-the-record back-channel deal for his quarterback. Well, what if the commissioner said, hey, if you see the appeals through, I'll make sure that your 1 is reduced to a 2. The first-round pick you were going to lose is only a second round. That could be an enormous savings on the part of this franchise. But no, he said, for the good of the league, and you guys are complete agreement here, no, I'm out because I love my commissioner, I've staunchly supported my commissioner, and I love my other owners. So we accept our punishment. In so doing, you are conceding guilt on the part of your quarterback, whether you like it or not. He did not mention his quarterback in the statement he made. Is that a plus or a minus? I considered it a minus because he didn't even say, I will continue to back my quarterback in his battle with the league through the appeals process, and if it gets to this, through the court process. Because I'm pretty sure the quarterback is dug in and will continue to fight. And to me personally, what he just did to his quarterback was shameful. But that's just me, because it looks like he sold him out to the league. For the good of the bigger golden goose, he sold out his golden goose, who has helped him win 4 Super Bowl rings. And has been, I would say, the biggest reason Bob Kraft owns 4 Super Bowl rings is this quarterback, and he left him high and dry because the public is going to say concession of guilt. Oh, you did do it, so it's okay. Tom did do it. We get it.
Brunel,
now what,
quarterback?
Tom?
What take?
Go ahead.
No, I would say if Mr. Kraft had to do it all over again, now he spoke from the heart. There wasn't a script. He wasn't reading it. That would have been very easy, but he spoke from the heart. I think if he had a chance to do that all over again, he would have included that.
Okay.
But I just don't think that he would ever, at any point, bail on his quarterback, the guy that, as you said, has won 4 Super Bowls, maybe the best to ever play.
Maybe.
I think he just that was a mistake on his part, in my opinion.
Okay.
I think he left that out. If he had to do it again, he would include it. I still support Tom Brady. He's our quarterback. He's never lied to me. I trust him. This is our decision. We're going forward. But I don't think it was an admission of guilt. I think he just failed to mention that in his press conference.
Well, I'm pretty sure he told Tom exactly what he was going to do and say, hey, you still fight your fight.
He did. Yeah.
You still fight your fight. Sure. That's what you should do. But as I said earlier, this could have been alleviated.
You did.
Okay.
Long time ago.
From the beginning. Just from the beginning. I always say this. Like in life, like in football, like in family matters, your private matters are your private matters. And you handle it within the home. And you don't let the public all of a sudden make you make decisions or weigh what you're saying.
Okay.
Exactly. No, don't. To me, Skip, it should have never got this.
Okay, but that cat's way out.
It's out the bag. Exactly. So now we're going to dance with the music. It started with the quarterback, and it's going to end with the quarterback.
Right.
Whether it's good or bad.
So will you blame this quarterback
No.
if he takes this to court?
No.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Be okay, even though it's going to create negative rhetoric on our show.
It's fine.
Right?
It's fine. This team can handle all that. They handle it going into the Super Bowl. They handle it going to the Super Bowl, right? Everybody says, oh, okay. They handle it. They won the Super Bowl. So this kid's can handle it. I mean, that'll be fine.
The owners on Tuesday approved the competition committee's proposal to make extra points more challenging, snapping them from the 15-yard line. In recent seasons, kickers made more than 99% of the kicks with the ball snapped from the 2-yard line. The accepted proposal places the 2-point conversion at the 2 and allows the defense to return a turnover to the other end zone for the 2 points, similar to the college rule. The defense can also score 2 points by returning a botched kick. So here is the question, now that the rule is in place. What impact, if any, will this rule change have? I'll start with you first, Mark.
Terry, it's a huge impact. I think we're going to see more 2 points because the kick is no longer a guarantee. It's not 99.1 or whatever it was. Right. It's about 91%. A lot of that depends on who your kicker is, where you're playing. I mean, these decisions will come down to, obviously, the score. Right. It'll come down to the weather. Is it windy? Does your kicker have a strong leg? Right. Is he accurate? Right. So I think you'll see it. The onus clearly is on the coach. He'll have some tough decisions. There will be games that will be decided on his decision there at the end and through the course of the game. But I think you'll see more 2-point plays because, again, it's not a guaranteed kick anymore.
Right.
91% is pretty good.
Yeah.
But
although
you can miss those.
Last year, they made 39 of 41, 33 yards.
Yeah.
So
game conditions, Skip.
And you're right.
Wind,
if you're at
cold
Soldier
weather
Field in December and it's swirling,
if you're a kicker for Chicago, Pittsburgh, or teams like that, and it's December, January, you got to think about it.
So you think we will see more 2-point tries?
I think there will be an increase, not a huge increase, but. And I think that's exciting.
Yeah, I would say that'll make the game better.
It'll
more
make
exciting.
the game more exciting. After a touchdown, the fans aren't going up to get some popcorn and a hot dog or something like that. They're going to stay.
Because it's not a given.
And watch it. It's not a given, so you have to watch it. It's no guarantee. So there'll be an increase, but not huge.
What if they'd moved the 2-point try from the 2 to the 1 yard line?
Go for it.
Okay.
Go for it.
Do you think that would have been like Arena League bogus, like just silly rules, Is that how you would look at that?
I don't know about silly rules. I mean, for me, forget about the yard line. Forget about the, moving it back or 2 points. If you really wanted to make this thing interesting, narrow the goalposts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You find out who the good kickers are in the league. Take them in about a foot and a half or 2 feet on each side. That is what makes things very interesting. They didn't go down that road. They wanted to change. Who knows how long this rule will stay in effect? Maybe they try it out for a year, but I think it makes the game a little more interesting. It adds some drama to what normally is a pretty boring play.
And now you've made it a live ball, so you can return it for 2 points the other
the other way if you want to.
Defenses are excited about that.
Right, they're ready for it.
So now we've at least added a touch more drama to this.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay. Now I'm going to go way out there. I'm going to seize this opportunity.
Wait, what do you mean you're going to go way out
there? I'm going way out there because I've done this before. I've written this for ESPN.com, and I'm going to seize this opportunity to make my case and my plea one last time. My friend Jay Feely somewhere is watching this in Phoenix saying, "Oh, just shut your mouth." But I have never liked place kicking in the sport of football.
Right.
That's been gimmicky to me from the start. Yeah. To put these uprights up there, that's Arena League-ish to me. To have uprights that you send some little guy onto the field. Sometimes they're not little guys, but they really don't play football to me. Even though Jay Feely is a really good athlete, and maybe he could have been the third string safety for the New York Giants when he played for Tom Coughlin, because he always says he was.
Right.
But Jay's a really good athlete. Really good soccer player, really good golfer. Right. I get all that. Is he a really good football player? No.
He's not a football player.
Thank you.
He's a kicker.
He's a kicker. So we know that.
Sorry,
you know
Jay.
that.
Sorry,
okay.
Jay.
Oh, boy.
But that's the mentality you always had from Little League on, up through high school. They're the kicker.
Yeah.
Okay, why are they involved to start with? So to me, the game would be more fun, more exciting. If you now punting, I'm great with, because punting is strategic and it's calculated, and we're trying to pin you back at your 1 yard line. I get punting.
Sure.
But if you eliminated place kicking completely from the equation, then you're driving the ball, Mark Brunell's at the helm, and all of a sudden it's 4th and 3 at their 30. Okay, what are you going to do? What are you going to do, coach? Because you have no choice but to go for it. You're at the 24, whatever, and it could be a long football in the good old days, but no more good old days. Now you have to, these are the good old days, the good new days. You have to go for it on 4th and 3. And if you convert, which is possible, you get to keep driving the football until you get it in the end zone and score. And then when you do score, the extra point or points, if you want to call it 2, go ahead and put the ball at the 2, and you have to go for it again for extra points. You can add on 2 more points to your total, or if you want to make that a single point. I don't care what you call that point. Whatever, it's from the 2 yard line, and it's a football play that you have to make. So I will be ecstatic if there are more two-point tries because it's an actual football play as opposed to lining up and having one guy kneel and catch the snap, as you often did yourself.
I was a holder.
I know, I get it. Yeah, well, but
the only way I got on the field for a few years.
It's not your fault. You're just going along with the flow of this silly gimmick.
It's not your fault.
Okay?
That's all I did.
But what a silly gimmick. And then you actually put your fingertip on top of this oblong ball and hold it on the ground while this guy who doesn't actually play football boots it between these upright. That's how you score the game. And in the end, the way it's set up right now, the kicker becomes the MVP in the game because invariably in these close NFL games that we have, it comes down to the kicker making it from 33 or 43 yards, and everybody's on the edge of their seats for the wrong reasons because he should not have that much impact on the scoreboard and on the outcome of the game. And I've always said, if a Martian came down today and watched an NFL game, the Martian would say, interesting. That little man who runs on the field, he's the most valuable player on the team, isn't he? Is he the highest paid guy? No, he's the lowest paid guy, right? Well, what are you doing? Because he wins and loses games. Why don't you eliminate the little guy trotting up? I'm sorry, Jay Field, I know you've made good money in the NFL.
Skip, you're going to have to apologize to a lot more people than just Jay. There are kickers at every level right now that are just not a big fan.
We keep trying to figure out how to make the extra point kick more exciting. Just do away with it.
No point.
No, seriously. At least do away with that part of it. If you want to keep the 48-yard field goals and all that, fine, for 3 points. But why not do away with the extra point kick? I still think it will be mostly automatic. And make everybody do the more exciting thing, which is you got to figure out a play to score from the 2-yard line to add on your extra, in this case, points. Right?
All right.
Is that not?
Is that fair?
No, it's not fair. It's ridiculous.
Which is ridiculous.
You talk about being out there. I can't even wrap my mind around it.
Really?
Well, we're taking the kickers out,
but you just said they don't. You just said they're not football players.
They're not football players,
right?
But you need them. One thing about
you
kickers,
need them? They're necessary evil.
Well, yeah, I got to a Super Bowl because of a kicker.
Aha!
Karen Hartley.
Well, that was his whole point. They have so much impact on the game.
Yeah, they do. Listen, you don't want to be a kicker, and you make fun of kickers, and you tease them that they're not football players.
Thank you.
But they are a pivotal part of your team. You've got to have a good one. And you don't have a good, not as important as a quarterback, but if you don't have a good kicker, you can lose a lot of football games.
Why, in reality, they should be the $20 million player. Seriously. And then everybody undervalues them. When it's time, they're dime a dozen. We'll get another guy off the street. You will? He's going to win and lose football games for you, and you're just going to go pick another guy off the street? Because we know they kind of go south mentally all of a sudden.
Yeah. They're a little different breed.
You know what? I hate it. It ruins football for me. It always has. I don't get it.
You clearly disagree.
I clearly
Keep
disagree.
the kicker.
I mean,
they should not eliminate it.
We've had kickers since the beginning of NFL football. It's just what we do. It's a part of it. I can't wrap my mind around. I can't depart from what has been tradition in the NFL. I understand your point.
As a quarterback, as you kept getting to 4th and 3 at the 28, wouldn't you love to go for it?
What's the score?
Any score. You always had to go for it.
I want to win.
No matter what.
I want to win.
So would you want to go for it or win a kick?
As the player?
Yeah.
You always want to go for it. Let me stay on the field. Put it in my hands. We went all this way.
Yep.
Let us finish this thing.
Is there a method?
Strategy comes
a method to his madness? Is there a method?
Maybe a little.
Okay.
It's out there now. There's a little.
Here's the flip side of the kicker who got you to the, where did you say he won you which? He got
Super Bowl.
To the Super Bowl, yeah.
Garrett won.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, gotcha.
Okay,
I got it. The downside to that is how many of those guys have let teams down and left them deflated after the football players fought their guts out for 60 minutes or almost to the last second, 59-59. And then the little non-football player trots on the field and he's wide right. Ask the Buffalo Bills, right? And it devastates an entire fandom because it came down to the wrong guy doing what I think is the wrong thing.
Whoa.
It shouldn't come down to that.
Jay Feely?
It's part of our game.
We love you.
We call
it
football.
Skip, you can text him.
He's mad at me for other reasons. That's okay.
You have his number, Jay.
I'll do it.
It's fine, yeah.
He used to have mine.
Mark Brunell, it's always a pleasure. You're welcome anytime. Thank you.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.
ESPN Radio. With the action on the court, the diamond, or the gridiron.
Comes alive.
The NBA.
The San Antonio Spurs are the
Major League Baseball.
San Francisco Giants are the champions of the baseball world.
A new college football playoff.
College football playoff national champion, the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Your home for the best in sports play-by-play.
ESPN Radio.
As far as defensively, we have to be in tune with every single last one of them. Whatever's on the floor, we have to be in tune. First of all, the most important thing is the ball. And the ball is going to start in Jeff Teague's hand. And from that point on, to Kyle Colbert, to Damari Carroll, to Al Horford, to Paul Millsap, on down the guys that come in after that, we have to be in tune. And if we do that, what we've been doing, throughout the first 10 games of our postseason, we'll be fine. I just try to lead these guys. Try to give them the right path, and it's up to those guys to decide which way they want to go. And they listen to my command. I demand excellence out of every last one of them, including myself, and I just want them to be great.
So the Eastern Conference Finals begin tonight as the Cavaliers visit the Hawks in Game 1. This will be the 4th time in his career that LeBron James faces a 1 seed in the conference finals. His teams have won the series each of the previous 3 times. No Kevin Love, Kyrie Irving slowed by injury during the postseason. We're wondering if LeBron can handle it all. We're putting him on the hook. Joining us now is Brian Windhorst. How are you?
Good morning.
Good
Welcome
morning.
Back.
So
this is good night for you. You didn't even go to bed. Right?
Barely, and I'm going to Atlanta right from here to the airport to Atlanta.
This is the postseason.
Thank goodness for the 8:30 start.
Yeah, no one sleeps during the postseason, especially media folks. So tell me, how much pressure, extra pressure there would be on LeBron tonight with this new team?
Well, this is a new team and a new opponent, but it's not really, because Mike Budenholzer is going into the archives and pulling out the Greg Popovich. This is my assumption. I don't know. Pulling out the Greg Popovich game plan.
Right.
And the game plan is going to be what Greg Popovich believes about LeBron. He doesn't believe he can shoot under pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in 2007, it worked. They killed him. 2013, LeBron got him back. Beat him, especially in Game 7. They backed off. He killed him last year.
He almost didn't beat him in Game 6, but that's a whole other story.
You are correct about that. He did miss a couple in that one.
He missed a couple, but one guy made good for him.
And last year, he was pretty good. He actually played pretty well in the finals, but his team wasn't comparable. So I think that's what you're going to see, especially since LeBron shooting 37% on shots from 10 to 20 feet in the postseason, 15% outside three-point range. So the pressure is going to be on LeBron to deliver on this game plan. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'll come out tonight and they'll smother him and force the ball into his hands, but that's not the Spurs way. And since the Hawks are essentially Spurs 2.0, I expect to see that tonight. So the pressure, certainly LeBron's, cohorts, his role players are going to be important. Kyrie, where was that foot and knee going to be? Let's see if LeBron can make
That's a strong statement. Hawks are Spurs 2.0.
Of all the teams that have tried in the last decade to mimic the Spurs, whether it's hiring general managers, whether it's hiring their coaches, this is the closest thing to the Spurs. When LeBron lines up, and I realize Damari Carroll is not Kawhi Leonard. I realize Al Horford is not Tim Duncan. It's Spurs light. Maybe Spurs light's better than Spurs 2.0.
Okay.
But the game plans that the Hawks play, the moving of the ball, the defensive strategies, LeBron is going to be flashing back to him being in a Heat uniform and looking at silver and black across the way.
Okay.
And I'm not beating this stat to death, but in the previous series against the Chicago Bulls that win 6 games, LeBron James from three-point land shot 3 for 28. That's 11%, 3 for 28. But they won because they were just better than the Bulls, who I think had their own internal issues going on. Derrick Rose versus Jimmy Butler, we talked about yesterday. And maybe they didn't give quite their best, less than their best in Game 6. But I thought when LeBron attacked, he was sensational against the Bulls. Will he be able to attack this defense that way, where he can just be just bigger and stronger than everyone in the lane? Maybe so. Maybe he could be. But now back to your question. How much pressure is on him? To me, and feel free to disagree, I'm just doing the big picture. This is just my little world view of LeBron right now. I feel like there's less pressure on him today than there has been in all those previous finals, because of the loss of Kevin Love and because Kyrie, even though he talked a good game, what was it, yesterday, I got my legs back underneath me. He's got a serious foot issue exacerbated by a knee issue on the other side. So can he be Kyrie? Can he be that guy who scored 57 at San Antonio? I don't think so. So doesn't that take a little pressure off LeBron? It just seems to me that it does, that the honeymoon gets extended a little bit. that nobody really, if they lose to the Hawks, nobody can say, oh, LeBron, how could you, it's all on you. I don't think people will say it's all on him.
I know I'm supposed to sigh here and disagree with you, but I do agree. And you're the best person to answer this question because you are a lot of times the heartbeat of the LeBron contrarian movement. If they lose the series,
or the LeBron honesty movement.
Okay.
However you want to look at it.
Fair point.
Yes.
Fair point. If they lose the series, let's say they go and they end up playing the Warriors, and I think the Warriors are a better team. Let's say the Warriors beat them 4-1 or whatever. He goes home to his 2 rings and his MVP trophies, knowing that he probably didn't have the better team. And it's not like Miami losing to Dallas.
No way.
It's not comparable. So I agree. I do think LeBron goes into the game not feeling like my career is being defined whether we win this series. But if tonight it's 96-96 with a minute and a half left, and it's LeBron on the Hawks, you're expecting LeBron to win that game.
Sure.
So some of it will be how these games actually play out. And LeBron got great production from his role players this last series. I mean, he did not expect Matthew Dellavedova to have a 19-point game. And Mon Shumpert stepping up. Will those guys step up and keep the pressure off him? Because LeBron had one great game in the last series, one good game in the last series, and one great shot. The rest of it, he wasn't that good. And he was able to get through it mostly because the Bulls didn't really deliver either.
Okay, so a year ago, we were about to be in San Antonio. And when we were there, I'm the mayor of that city.
Are you? Unofficial.
I think I probably lost most of the title this year. But
unofficially.
When we were there, I expected LeBron James to carry that Heat team. Dwayne was having issues with his knees, little age setting in. And I just thought that it was going to be LeBron or bust last year, and I put that much pressure on him in those games. And in game 1, there was a heat issue, remember, in the building.
Oh, yeah.
And LeBron cramped.
Well, according to the streets, what happened?
Yeah, the streets, I forget.
DJ Khaled said that
DJ Khaled said that Coach Pop turned the air off.
Maybe that'll be part of the Budenholzer. It's supposed to be, I think, 88 tonight in Atlanta.
Oh.
Well,
the circumstances are prime.
But only one player on the court. Of all those good players on the court, only one cramped, and it happened to be that guy. And it was still a close game, went to the wire. Spurs won game 1, set them up to just go crazy. And LeBron's team, and he was by far the best player on that team, and I think on the court in that series, they lost by a record finals margin. Okay, so now pressure off to me. Tonight at Atlanta, they are actually, the Cavaliers, a 1-point underdog. Who knew? And again, the odds makers, they're not favoring. There's no emotion in that. It's just Atlanta is a really good basketball team with a really good basketball coach. Their team unity occasionally can supersede LeBron's greatness, just his superstarness, because they don't have a superstar, but they got flow, they got cohesion, they got a scheme on both ends of the court, offense and defense, that maybe Cleveland doesn't quite have right now, or yet has. So it's fascinating to watch. I'm interested in it. I don't think the world is interested in the Atlanta Hawks outside the city of Atlanta. I think they're way more boring than my Spurs used to be seen as being, although I think people came around and Spurs became fun to watch.
Right.
But in this case, LeBron's minus, they get a point, so they're +1 tonight in game 1. You know what? I think Atlanta's going to win this game.
Wow.
Yeah, and the odds makers have something going for them. In the last 5 years, so 4 Heat years and this year, LeBron's lost game 1 7 times.
Yeah, 2-5.
Wow.
7 times.
Yeah.
Well, so Derrick Rose, it was several times going
he went down to the Bulls 3 times.
3 times.
And he's won 6 of those. The one he didn't was Spurs last year. They didn't recover from that. But they tied it up. He took home court advantage back.
They did.
So
who do you have winning tonight?
I mean, based on that, I think it's going to probably be the Hawks.
Okay.
But I don't have a great, strong feeling about this series. I know this. Cavs are most worried about Kyle Korver.
Okay.
When they went to bed last night, they were worried about Kyle Korver.
In case we don't have you on the show, so who's winning the series?
I mean, I think they have the Cavs have the 2 best players.
So.
And I think LeBron's won a postseason road game in 20 straight series, one of the greatest statistics of his career.
That is a great stat.
Jordan in 24. Jordan's all-time leader. So I think he's going to win a road game, so he'll have a chance to clinch at home. So I think the Cavs have the edge.
We're both supposed to,
That's too loud, Dad.
I know. Hold on 1 second, man.
Be quiet.
He plays well, and obviously he did that for his team in the third quarter to really keep them close and keep them in, and that's what we're supposed to do. See yourself. She's so funny. All right. She is just like this. She's only 2. It's crazy.
Steph Curry's 34 points helped the Warriors rally from 16 points down to take Game 1 against the Rockets. After the game, though, as you saw, Curry was upstaged by his 2-year-old daughter, Riley, at the podium. So, our dear friend, Brian Windhorst, still hanging out with us. You made some very unpopular statements last night. You took the stance that children should not be at the podium. Why is that?
Well, Skip, for one day, I'm going to get more hate mail than you.
I don't know. I haven't spoken yet.
Have you heard this man?
On All-Star Weekend, when you've won the championship, in the midseason, take your daughter or son to work day.
Yeah.
Every now and then, I think it's great. And look, Riley Curry is adorable. Okay, I agree. But this is now happening, like, in every series, almost every game. It's even happening with losing players. And as a member of the media, even though I know it's cute and it's great for social media, and we ran a montage of it on SportsCenter this morning, and it's probably what people will remember from today.
Yeah.
I understand all of that. But as a member of the media who wants to ask the players about the game in a business setting, which is what that is, it is counterproductive. And it sometimes takes away from being able to ask the questions. And like I said, occasionally I like it. And if the players want to have their children showcased because they are so cute, what I would say is when you come into the game and you get that shot where you're walking in and everybody gets to see your fashion, have your daughter or son's hand that you're bringing them in. Let them dress up and everything like that.
Okay, so I call it Models Row. So when they're doing the model walk, their catwalk, so to speak.
That would be a time to
That's when you believe the kids should be, if they really want to showcase their children.
I just think that in this situation, I was at a playoff game this season where it was the first game of round 1, and the losing team, the player brought up his daughter to sit on his lap, and the daughter, is a toddler. She doesn't want to sit there. She's interrupting the question. She's roaming around, and this player just had a losing performance. And we want to ask questions. We want to ask questions of the millionaire who part of his job is to come and answer for his performance. And, he has his kid up there. And I don't want to be callous. I'm speaking as a member of the media who wants to be able to get access to the players in this situation after the game.
It changes the atmosphere when the child is there and you can't ask certain questions?
I absolutely believe that, especially when a losing player does it, which I see more and more. And, look, Steph Curry had an incredible game last night, and it was a cute moment. It's not anything about Riley. It's just about the practice, and, and this has been going on for a long time. And last year I was in San Antonio when Tim Duncan brought his kids up after he won the title, and I thought that was appropriate. When you're celebrating a title,
I agree.
It's a family moment. Bring them up when you celebrate the title. But after Game 1 of a playoff series, it's very important that came down to the final minute. I want to be able to ask, as a member of the media who reports to the fans and has responsibilities, as Steph Curry has responsibilities to answer the questions, I would like to be able to ask him a question without having him to watch his daughter toddle around the thing. I'm sorry that's unpopular, but I'm saying that as a media member.
It's unpopular because people are going to leap to the conclusion that you hate children. And I don't think, I know you fairly well, I don't think you hate children. Neither do I. But I agree with your premise. And allow me to say, and I said this in our meeting this morning before I even knew you had tweeted about it. Is that what you did?
He said it on.
Said it on
what is that show?
NBA Tonight.
NBA Tonight, yes.
Okay, got it. I thought the same thing last night for slightly different reasons. Let me say first, Riley Curry she is adorable. She did steal that show last night, which is exactly what I didn't want to happen. Now, I'm looking at it 2 ways. I'm a journalist for a long time, an old newspaper man just like you are, and I'm a hardcore basketball fan. And I understand that in my travels in this world, the strongest emotion I ever encounter is parents wanting to be proud of and show off their children. There's nothing stronger that I encounter, sometimes irrationally so. They're not thinking the way you're thinking. Steph wants you to see how cute his kid is because he loves this kid and she is the light of his life. I get that. But number one, you have a job to do, as for many years in that setting I did. You're on a deadline. Those journalists based certainly on the East Coast, and there are many of those there last night, or at least in the Central Time Zone, they're on a tough deadline. They need their quotes, and they got to run to either feed their sound or their tape or write their stories. They need quick quotes from Steph about what happened in a fascinating conclusion to a game that came down to the last 5 minutes, MVP versus runner-up MVP. And MVP dramatically had just outplayed runner-up, who had James Harden, as we talked about earlier, had 3 late turnovers and a missed 3, while Steph took the game over and made 2 hugely clutch free throws to ice that game. I wanted to hear about it because I'm such a Steph fan. So as a hardcore basketball lover, I'm sitting in my living room watching this live feed, and after a while I'm like, you know, Riley is adorable, but I've seen enough because I'm trying to listen to what Steph's saying, and I can't even follow it because he can't complete a sentence because she's interrupting or she's crawling under the table because she's 2 years old. What do you expect her to do? Terrible twos, right? And after a while, I have no idea what Steph said, and I badly wanted to hear what he had to say, and it got completely disrupted by little Riley stealing the show. Again, great for him. I'm sure he and his family, mom, dad, wife, they loved it, but it really hurt the process of you getting, or, you know, the journalists getting their quotes from Steph, and me as a basketball fan, Steph's tried to talk about how we wanted it more than, you know, and I'm like, really? Go on. Go. No, then he's stopping. He's looking for Riley. Okay, so I'm with you. I don't hate children. I'm not an ogre, but that's the truth of the moment, and I agree with you. I'm seeing it more and more and more. Now everybody's doing it, and after a while, the NBA is going to have to make a call here at some point because they preserve the sanctity of the postgame. You're obligated to come, right?
It's part of the contract.
It's part of the contract.
I don't even really care about the journalists on deadline because the fans don't care about that.
Yeah, we don't.
It's more like the fans want to see what the player has to say. And
sure.
You can't do it. It's a very difficult issue because everybody will be talking about that today.
Yeah.
But Steph Curry could have had some very important quotes that didn't get reported and didn't come out last night. And it really is an issue when it's a losing player, too.
When it's a losing player, more so than a winning player for you?
Because it acts as a misdirection. It makes those of us uncomfortable in the room to ask a very difficult question in front of their toddler.
That's a good point.
The Lakers moved from the 4th spot to the 2nd, keeping a pick they would have sent to Philadelphia if they fell outside the top 5. Kobe Bryant responded with the following tweet. "We played like crap all season, so it's only right we get the number 2 pick. Ha! Laker luck. Good day." Magic Johnson tweeted the following. "With the number 2 pick, we can get a great big man, add some good free agents this summer, and we will be right back as a contender next season." Resident Laker fan, also a coach. Herm Edwards is back to make the case. Will the Lakers be contenders next season?
They need one more piece, but I do think they will be contenders next year. I don't know if they can win it all, obviously. I would love to see Kobe.
You do have them make the playoffs.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah. Kobe is not going 3 seasons in a row not making the playoffs. That's unheard of. We've gone 2 years already, and that's not what we're looking for. Last night I was watching the draft, and obviously when the balls were bouncing around, and I saw Byron, and when the Knicks went to 4, you looked at it, he went one of these. He did a wink. I said, "Yes, sir. We're doing good right now." Remember the Lakers used to be in Inglewood?
Yeah, Inglewood.
You know what we used to say when they were in Inglewood playing? It's all good in Inglewood right now. See?
And
so right now, yeah. And, you know, I just think when you look at them, you're going to have a healthy Kobe Bryant.
Sure.
Hopefully he can stay healthy the whole season.
We got Julius.
You're going to get you're going to get a young, energetic player. I don't know who they're going to pick, whatever they decide to do that way.
It's probably Okafor.
Yeah, and then they need to get one more guy, I think.
Okay.
No, but we have Randall. It wasn't bad.
Yeah,
We'll get
Julius
it.
Randle, remember, he played 14 total minutes before he broke his leg
so he
last
couldn't
year.
play.
So he's a veritable rookie coming back.
But you need one more.
But Jordan Clarkson
Not
came out of
bad.
nowhere
He's
and
really
made the
good.
first-team
He's
all-rookie
really good.
last year.
And the West is tough.
But the problem with Kobe is he's coming off multiple injuries at age 37. He has now played in his career 55,415 minutes.
Yes.
55,415 minutes.
Say that again.
Think about that.
Say that again.
Well, think how many miles he's got on his body. So, you know, to me, as much as I will root for this team next year, because I love Kobe.
Yeah, I want to see him go out winning.
I do too, but make the playoffs in the West, I'm not sure you can do it.
No,
I'm just not sure you can pull that off.
We got a $2 bet.
$2.
No.
I'll give you your $2
Time out.
back.
Magic made the point. I bet you we get a good free agent. And
Now that would change lives.
May not be huge.
Maybe that guy that plays for your team.
Kawhi?
No, it's a done deal. It's wrapped.
Jimmy Butler?
He will be a Spur.
Options? We got
Come on,
Kawhi. We got
Kawhi.
Jimmy Butler.
Come on home, Kawhi.
LaMarcus Aldridge.
Come home,
Listen,
Kawhi.
Come on home.
Let him come home.
You don't want to hear about it?
Now, if you get Kawhi, then all bets are off.
Then we're
I'm
making
out.
it to you're out where? You're a Laker fan?
I'm out west.
You're out west?
I'm going to wear one of them yellow jerseys.
You want to be a Laker fan?
Come on.
You know what?
That's hard to do. There's room.
I used to buy Laker gear. I used to cover all those Magic games,
Yes.
Magic Bird games, and I would buy Laker T-shirts. I like them.
Come on.
Magic right now is silently recruiting. Again, there's Jimmy, there's LaMarcus, there's
Come on.
Kawhi. Magic working.
Go get 'em.
Working magic.
All good.
Tomorrow on the show, obviously, we'll talk about the playoff games. We'll see you then. Thank you, Coach. I appreciate you joining us.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
10 a.m. Eastern right here on ESPN2. Have a great one, everyone. Thanks for listening to the podcast. You can catch First Take Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific on ESPN2.
Miguel Cabrera leads the Detroit Tigers into Anaheim to face Mike Trout and the Los Angeles Angels. The pregame's at 7 Eastern, followed by first pitch at 8. Sunday on ESPN2 and on ESPN Radio.